What's up, everyone? My guest today is Owen Schwaegerle, a real estate agent on California's Central Coast. With COVID-19 adding fuel to an already hot housing market here in California, I'm super excited to have Owen on to help you think about how to navigate this crazy housing market. Now, in this episode, we're going to talk about how ordinary families are managing to own real estate in California's extremely expensive environment, how Owen hustled his way to owning multiple rental properties in his 20s, and how you can too, and why COVID-19 has been great for the residential real estate market. Oh, and we're going to get Owen's thoughts on just how much higher home prices can go. I really enjoyed this discussion with Owen, and if you liked it, make sure to rate and subscribe. Now, without further ado, Owen Schwaegerle. All right, guys, I've got Owen here. Thanks so much for coming on, man.
Hey, thanks for having me, Matt. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, it's good to have you on. You know, the market's bananas, and we've got to get into all this real estate because you got the COVID tailwinds and a low supply. I mean, California was in a housing crisis before COVID hit, and now you
Mhm.
got more.
Absolutely. Yeah, I was just looking at the market statistics today for the entire California regional multiple listing service. And as of a year ago today, the inventory, which means how many homes are available, is down 44.6%. So that means there's almost half as many homes available today than there was a year ago at this time. And real estate prices across the board for all types of housing units are up 12.9%. So basically 13% up. The median sales price for a home in the California Regional Multiple Listing Service is now $638,000.
That's unbelievable. And when people hear that K-shaped recovery, if they're listening to CNBC or different places with COVID, the saying is, hey, wages went down for a lot of people, but these valuations of stocks, bonds, real estate, they keep shooting up. How are ordinary people managing to get into this market? How are you helping your clients?
Yeah, great question. I'd definitely say that there has been a K-shaped recovery in real estate, and our sector has not been affected negatively. Most of the home buyers are people who have kind of white collar jobs, finance, tech. Those are the people who are traditionally buying homes. And so they are able to work remotely and they haven't suffered from unemployment. Whereas a lot of hospitality, retail, restaurants, their unemployment, is so high, they're being hurt a lot more than other people. So a lot of our clients right now, the way we're winning homes is we got to get out there, look at properties and write offers. And sometimes it takes 4 or 5 offers before we get our clients' offers accepted. And what we're seeing is there's a lot of people relocating from the major cities like LA, San Francisco, Bay Area, and they're moving to more rural areas to escape the pandemic. And so our local clients are trying to buy a home and they're competing with these big cash buyers from big cities. So what we're doing is we got to build rapport and relationships with the listing agent in order to win the deal and get our offer accepted. And another thing our buyers are doing is writing a love letter, explaining a little bit about their story, who they are, put a little picture in there, and that can kind of pull at the heartstrings of these sellers, which gets their offer accepted more often
And
than
has
not.
that worked? Have they heated off the all cash offer from San Francisco doing that?
It does work. And we just had a closing about a week ago where our offer wasn't even the highest priced offer, but the sellers loved the story of our clients and wanted to choose their offer. So that's one of the ways I'd say is you gotta sell yourself, and it's really about storytelling. If you can tell a great story to a seller and to the listing agent, then they might choose your offer over some of the other bigger, better offers that are out there.
I love that. So let's hear your story then. Tell us a little bit about how you got into real estate and just a little bit about you.
Okay, so I grew up in a real estate family, and my grandparents did real estate back in the 40's, and my parents do real estate. So I kind of always knew that's what I wanted to do. And at first, after graduating from ag business at Cal Poly, I went into finance. I was a financial analyst and used to do commercial real estate loans. So I was analyzing real estate and realized, I don't like sitting in a desk all day at a bank. I want to get out there and meet people and do something. So
And you're
got my
selling yourself short. You were the ASB president at Cal Poly too. So you really
that
got to get out there and you really do love to talk to people.
I do love people, and I love helping people. And so by getting my real estate license, I was able to help people start buying and selling and investing in real estate. And I think you're totally right. There is such a gap right now in affordability in California because of the supply and demand. There's huge demand for housing, and there's such a low supply, with that inventory being about half of what it was a year ago.
Right.
So, how do we bridge the gap? And obviously, if you could increase the supply of housing units available, that would help mitigate some of the price pressure pushing it upwards, right? These low interest rates, it makes purchasing a home super affordable. You could get a 30-year fixed rate mortgage for 3% or less right now. So it is more affordable, like your monthly payment's more affordable, but the prices keep getting pushed up. So what I'd recommend young people do is start just rigorously saving as much money as you can so you can get as big of a down payment as possible. And then you got to be creative. And you're not going to be able to buy the best, nicest, beautiful home that's turnkey. You got to sometimes buy a fixer-upper or a starter home or even a condo, something small, so that you can get your foot in the door, start building equity, and ride that wave as the real estate prices continue to rise. And then down the line, a few years from now, you can sell, cash out that equity, or keep it as a rental property.
And you said continue to rise. Are you forecasting that this 15% appreciation, it's going to keep going with all the money printing? I mean, Biden's talking another 1.9 trillion stimulus. If Janet Yellen gets confirmed as the Treasury Secretary, I think they're going to keep those interest rates low. What is your side saying over at Keller Williams?
Yeah, that's what we're seeing as well. I mean, they're not talking about raising interest rates anytime soon. Once they do start raising interest rates, that can kind of slow down the market, cool it down. But we haven't seen the rates go down, and they are talking about printing out a lot more money. You know, there's so much stimulus. It's like this giant sugar high. They're just like throwing money at people for all kinds of things. And so we thought that there would be a big kind of dip or some sort of hit in the real estate market last year. And we were totally blown away. It was the exact opposite, because during quarantine and shelter in place, people, they're at home and they
Right.
realize, I need a bigger home. I want a yard. I want a better kitchen. And so people have been upgrading in homes. So there hasn't been any real slowdown in the real estate market.
Yeah. And as an underwriter, I mean, you were working as an underwriter before you got into real estate. What does the underwriter in you say? Are you like, hey, there's lower interest rates, so the math checks out. We can keep these super high valuations, even though wages aren't necessarily matching the price appreciation? What does the underwriter in you say? Or is there some pause or reason for concern?
Great question. So the financial analyst in me looks at every deal, and it has to make sense. It has to pencil out. If you're stretching yourself or leveraging yourself too much, you definitely shouldn't do it, especially if you're in a high risk industry. And so lenders, they're really strict right now. And we've seen deals not go through because of buyers not qualifying, which is a good thing, because you don't want to give out a loan for $500,000 or more to an unqualified buyer that could be high risk to the bank. So that's fortunate for banking and lenders. As far as where I see the real estate market going, I think it's going to keep going up while we have this money pumping into the economy. And
The new normal, if you will.
yeah, when is it going to stop? You know, it's just going to continue to happen. Low interest rates, quantitative easing, and all the bailouts, you know, a
And
lot of
that's
money.
why you say to young people, hey, you've got to save and you've got to get in, or else you're not going to be a part of
Mhm.
this pie that's growing and realizing appreciation.
Exactly. See, like if you have $25,000, let's say cash sitting in the bank, and at the rate of inflation and what they're doing, they're pumping so much money into the economy, real estate prices, they're going up 12, 15% a year. If you're
Right.
not earning that same amount of interest on your money that's sitting in a bank, you are missing out big time by not being in real estate.
You're falling behind. You're putting yourself at risk because your salary in US dollars isn't necessarily representative of value. Whereas that hard real estate asset is representative of a real piece of the
Yep.
economy, and it's inflating as the dollar inflates.
Right. It's a hedge against inflation.
Right.
And that's the reason why the rich are getting richer, the poor are getting poorer, is because those who are wealthy own assets. Those who aren't own liabilities. And an asset puts money in your pocket every month. Liability takes money out of your pocket every month. That's according to Rich Dad, Poor Dad, Robert Kiyosaki in his book. So, yeah, I think that if you have money sitting in the bank, you got to get it into some sort of performing asset, because right now, with just that incredible rise, I mean, people are making a lot of money, even in stocks and index funds, that kind of thing. So get your money out of cash and into some sort of asset that will be performing for you.
Couldn't agree more. Now, I want to hear some stories about this because you got into the market a few years ago. It was already very recovered from 2008. But I want to hear from you, kind of compare and contrast, the year you got into the market and take me up to now and just share some
Yeah.
stories about how things have changed.
So we bought our first investment property, my wife and I, and it was a fourplex. And we did what's
And
called
what
house.
year is this?
This was in 2019.
Okay.
So 2019, we had been looking at the market for quite a while, and we had been listening to Bigger Pockets, which is a real estate investing podcast, listening to books on tape like Set for Life by Scott Trench. And they talk about this idea called house hacking. And house hacking is turning your house into an income producing asset. So that way you lower your total expenses. And the way it works is you buy a multi-unit property, you live in one unit, and then you rent out the other units, and those other units, rental income helps pay for your mortgage. So we found this fourplex. It was in Paso Robles, and it was an opportunity zone, and it was a fixer-upper, had a lot of different things to it that most people didn't want. It was kind of not the cleanest, nicest looking property, which is a great opportunity to buy a deal. So we
Right.
bought the property, and we fixed it up all summer, sweat equity. We, did a lot of the projects ourselves. And then we rented out the units, and all three of the rental units covered the entire mortgage. So we were able to live rent free. And that's what I'd recommend young people do in California right now that want to buy, invest, and own real estate and stay in California.
Right. I mean, so many people have been forced out of California. You've seen a lot of people moving to Texas, to Idaho, these different
Mm-hmm.
places for the middle class so that they can own a home. And you're saying, you know what, you're not going to buy that turnkey home. You're going to have to make moves, house hack, maybe not have the nicest property, but with some can do, you're going to be able to stay in this state that you love so much for whatever reason. I mean, there's a reason everyone wants to be here.
Absolutely, Matt. I agree. It's so sad. So many people feel like they have to leave because they cannot purchase a home that's in as great of condition as they want, or one that's comparable to their parents that they grew up in. And what we have to realize and recognize is the times our parents grew up in are so different than the times we live in now.
So different.
And California real estate has appreciated so much over the last several decades that you have to be creative and think outside the box in order to get some property. So we got that property. We lived in it for 1 year.
Mm-hmm.
And during that time, we were living rent free. We were able to save up enough cash in order to put down a down payment on another home. And then we were able to move out of Paso Robles, move back to San Luis Obispo, which is where we wanted to be. And now we live in a townhome in San Luis Obispo. So the wealth building effect is taking place. You buy your first property and you can hold it as a rental investment property. And then you save while you're living in that duplex or triplex or fourplex. And then you can roll that forward into your next house. And this one, we'll probably live here 1, 2, 3 years, save up enough, and then buy our next property and hold that as an investment as well.
Yeah, that's awesome. And so I want to hear some stories too, though, on the client side. I mean, what year did you get into selling real estate? Was that 2017?
2017 was when I got my sales license, and I had to work 3 months really hard, no income at all during that time. And finally, 3 months into the business, I got my first client and we closed on their home. So that was really
Take us
exciting.
through kind of what the market was like when you closed on that first home compared to how it is today. I mean, we talked about how hot it is for all the different reasons,
Mhm.
but
Yeah, at the time, it was still a seller's market, and things were hot and competitive, and yet not at the same level they are today, because we had way more homes available. So real quick, in San Luis Obispo County, on average, we have about 1,200 homes listed at any time. right now we're down to about 505 homes listed for sale.
Wow.
So you
And
can
that
see,
includes new inventory. There's a lot of new construction in the area.
yeah, that's everything that's currently active listed for sale.
Yeah.
So huge dip in what homes are, available. So all that being said, well, a few years ago, it was still a hot seller's market. It's hard for buyers to get in, but boy, are my clients happy that they bought back then, because that house they bought for $530,000 today is worth $650,000.
Right. I mean, it's unbelievable. It seems like it's just an acceleration of the trend. You
Mm-hmm.
know, you see homes that sold for 200, 300 dollars per square foot not too long ago, going for 600 more now.
Yeah, absolutely. I, Another thing to share on the client side of things is there are still great deals that are out there. Everyone wants the nice new turnkey homes, but there are those fixer uppers, and there are sometimes distressed sellers that need to sell, and they're willing to do it at a discount because it's a problem property and they just need to cash out. So, for example, we got one of our clients a property last year. It was a duplex, and it was coastal, super close to the beach, and it's a duplex, and we were able to get it for $310,000.
Wow, that's
So
impressive.
there are deals like that, and it was a huge fixer upper. They're going to have to put in 100 grand plus, but once that's all fixed up, they're going to have a duplex really close to the Pacific Ocean. So there are deals like that still happening.
Right. And there's so many unique pockets. I mean, we saw the different propositions that went through this last year, which I'm sure you could get into those. But also, I want to come back to, you mentioned the opportunity zone for that fourplex you got in Paso. Can you explain that a little bit to people and how that was able to benefit you?
So opportunity zones, under the 2017 tax adjustments that they made, they created these pockets throughout the country where if you invest in an opportunity zone with an opportunity zone fund, you get all kinds of capital gains tax exemptions. So the concept is, I wasn't one of those big funds investing in that area, but I know that there will be big funds investing in that area, which is going to help redevelop that part of town. And over the past few years since the Opportunity Zone Act came out, over 50% of opportunity zones have gone up in value, close to 10 to 11%. So it's showing that there is some great traction that's happening because of the opportunity zone part
Right.
of the.
It's sort of like, hey, there's another reason that if I'm a young person, I can go ahead and make that jump into maybe not the nicest area, put some work into the property, and this area is going to appreciate in value because larger, bigger investors are coming into because they're incentivized to do so.
Yes, exactly. And you got to follow that, because I mean, at the end of the day, it's like, what are the incentives? Where is the money going? And if the money is incentivized to go into this area, this neighborhood, there's going to be a lot of money flowing there, and you can get in now and ride that tide and go up with the rest of the market.
That's really interesting. So a little just color on how hot the market is like today. What are some crazy stories you've been hearing around the San Luis Obispo Central Coast area for how fast homes are going, how many offers are coming in? Uh, yeah, tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so we have just like two buyers that we were showing properties to, homes this weekend, and the properties that we saw had been on the market for 2 3 days. They already had multiple offers. Like, I'm talking 3 to 6 offers on these properties, and they're only on the market for 2 or 3 days.
Right.
And so immediately you have to make a decision. Do you want to buy this home? And so our clients did decide to write an offer on one of those homes, and we had to write over the asking price. And we included a love letter, had our pre-qualification letter, and our offer got accepted.
That's
So
awesome.
it's really competitive, but in order to compete, you just have to be aggressive
Well, I'm
and
not
get.
sure you should be telling people about the love letter because it seems to be your competitive advantage right now, Owen.
And that's all right, because I believe in real estate. I think it is such a great investment. I want everybody to get into home ownership and investing in real estate, because there are so many benefits to it. The top
Right.
4 reasons to invest in real estate: number one, you get tax write-offs on your property that you own. You can deduct the interest on the mortgage, as well as if it's investment property, write off any repairs that you do on the property, which decreases your overall taxable income and helps you save more money on taxes each year, which is great. Number two, you've got principal pay down. So every month you're making principal payments and building equity.
Right. So for people who don't know how loans work, the principal, if I'm renting, right, and my rent's $3,000 a month, all that's going to the landlord. But if I have a payment on a mortgage, $3,000, a portion of that is going to actually realize equity in my property that I own, rather than just paying off the interest on my mortgage.
Exactly. Yeah. So, and then the third benefit would be appreciation, which is when the prices on things go up. And then the fourth benefit of investing in real estate and owning real estate is leverage. So you don't have to put 100% down of the purchase price in order to realize all three of those first benefits. You can put 10% down or 20% down. The more, the better, but you can put less than 100% down and the bank will give you the remainder of that as a note, but you get to keep 100% of the appreciation. You get to keep 100% of the principal pay down, and you get to keep 100% of the tax write-off. But the bank gave you 90% of the deal or 80% of the deal.
Right. The bank basically said, hey, I'll give you this US dollar that we talked about is depreciating it at however low you want to talk about. We talked about home prices increased 15%. They're like, hey, we'll give you this paper money. You go do something real with that and you're going to reap excess rewards.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's incredible. I mean, the amount of benefits you get from investing in real estate, I think is some of the best returns that you can get.
That's fascinating. So I heard you're working with your wife now. She's
Yes.
on your team. You started off on your own, but you're together. How's that been going?
Oh, it's so fun. It's so fun. So yeah, now she got her real estate license. We're a husband and wife real estate team. And together we're doing a lot better than when it was just me as a solo agent. She is awesome at marketing, at communicating, and helping us with all of our clients get to the close of escrow, which is awesome.
That's cool. So what I heard from you, Owen, was one, hey, you got to find a way to get in as a young person if you want to stay and not feel like you're pressured to leave the state if you're going to afford housing here. Be flexible. Two, be flexible. Three, take advantage of this. This is kind of a no-brainer. It's something that the big fish have set up to succeed, and the small fish can realize it. We talked about, following the money with the opportunity zones. There's a reason this real estate industry has its benefits. It's kind of codified into law, and there's no reason that ordinary people can't jump in and benefit it the same way that the big fish do.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it really makes sense. And if you're looking, let's say you found a $500,000 starter home, you need about $25,000 to $30,000 in order to buy it. If you were to put like 5% down, and then you need extra money for closing costs. So that's pretty much what you need. If you have access to capital and $25K, you could get up to a $500,000 home potentially. And with the rates being so low, I'd highly recommend anyone out there that's thinking about real estate to talk to a lender to get their pre-approval figures, to know what their monthly payment would be and what type of down payment they need. And then if you're wanting to be creative or flexible, you can rent out rooms in that house or buy that duplex and then rent out the other unit. So you have that income helping you make that mortgage payment. So it's even more doable.
Right. And in so many markets in California, particularly, we talked about low supply, right? And that's something that I think is going to continue for decades in the state, just because there isn't the will to completely change zoning. We saw it almost pass this year. I know Scott Wiener put forward a proposal that basically single family homes could be turned into up to fourplexes almost anywhere, but that didn't go through. And in places like San Luis Obispo, where you are, Owen, there's only so many new homes that could be built. I mean, talk about, there's a lot of new home developments, but my understanding is at the end of the day, there's open space preserve, and there's only so much space where there's going to be homes available to be built in this highly desirable area.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. That's the reason why real estate's going to be insulated in California, is because they're not developing the land. There's a lot of preserved space. And so uh, real estate prices are going to continue to go up because they're not making any more land. It's a fixed amount. And as far as inventory, yeah, they've got some new construction projects that are coming out, but it's still, even with all the units hitting the market, it's not enough to meet the current demand for what we need in order to make prices stabilize or go down. It's not going to happen for a long, long time.
So is a place like San Luis Obispo growing with work from home and COVID? Like, is the population of San Luis Obispo increasing? Are people from LA coming up and people from San Francisco coming down to these smaller communities?
I'd say so. And I can see that because some of our clients are actually relocating here from Bay Area. They worked at Google and now they can work remote. So they're shopping for homes out here, and the amount of mortgage that they would be paying here is equivalent to what they're paying for a studio in San Francisco.
Right. And couple that with only so many new homes being built, it's just like you said, the demand is going to keep outpacing the supply.
Another area of opportunity I see is with the new ADU laws. And ADU, auxiliary dwelling unit or accessory dwelling unit, 2020, they rolled out this whole new package that talks about putting in ADUs on single family zone properties in California. Are you familiar with that one?
I am, yeah, but tell them about it.
Yeah, so basically you can put up to one attached ADU on any single family property or two detached ADUs in the backyard of a property. So
Right.
let's say you've got like a single family home. You can convert the garage into a little studio unit, and the local jurisdictions are not allowed to stop you anymore because the state has mandated we need more housing. This is an emergency. So they've created this big new package of information, and we're actually putting in ADU on one of our properties right now.
Cool.
So it's a doable thing. You can totally convert spaces into these units, and some nice perks of it is you can take away parking and you don't have to replace parking, which has always been a development struggle because how do you fit a new unit and add parking? So they've taken away the parking requirement. You can take away parking like the garage and you don't have to replace it, which is really going to help some people invest in putting more units on their property, which is kind of going back to what you said. It's going to change some of like the neighborhoods and the demographics with, but they're not going to be able to stop it on local jurisdictions unless they change that rule.
Right. That's so interesting. And hey, everyone listening, that's another way to get on the right side of the trade. We talk a lot about, hey, there's K-shaped recovery. There's people who are benefiting. There's people who are struggling from this. If you're going to keep renting, you really may be putting yourself at risk, or you can go house hack and you can put in the work. It's not going to be perfect. It's not going to be turnkey, but you have the opportunity to put yourself on the right side of this trade. Like we've heard from Owen in his story. He's like, hey, you know what? I saw underwriting deals. Who was making money? It was the investors. So he got himself some property. He put in the work. And now he's rolling the snowball down the hill, and it's getting bigger and bigger. And I hope everyone listening, you can think about, hey, how can I position myself to protect myself and make myself better off so that I'm not the person at the mercy of these ever increasing rents in California.
Yeah, well said, Matt. Great summary. And yeah, it has, if you want difference in your life, you need to take action. You got to be willing to make the change. And a lot of people aren't willing to put in the sacrifice and the hard work in order to make those changes.
Absolutely. All right, Owen, I got a few fun questions for you.
Okay.
Before we wrap this up, man, you write children's books.
I do. Yes.
Talk to me about that. How did you get into that? Children's books and real estate magnate, Owen
Yeah.
Schwaegerle.
So when I was at Cal Poly, I studied ag business, and I was in a nutrition and food science class, and I learned that 1/3 of Americans are currently obese or overweight, and this upcoming generation is the first generation to have a lower life expectancy than their parents' generation because of childhood obesity and diabetes. And when I heard
Wow.
that, that just, it broke my heart, and I was really, really moved. I wanted to do something about it. So I decided to write a series of children's books designed to inspire and educate children and adults on the benefits of eating healthier foods and living a more active lifestyle.
That's really good, man. So I gotta ask you too. You were kind of a big deal at Cal Poly. You're the ASB president, and now you're in real estate. I thought you were going to be like the president of the United States someday. What happened? You decided not to go into politics?
Great question. So yeah, when I was at Cal Poly, I studied ag business. I minored in political science, and I thought I wanted to go into politics, honestly. And then when I was ASI president at Cal Poly, I kind of saw how it works, what goes on behind the scenes,
So how
and
does it work? What goes on
that,
behind the scenes then?
oh my gosh, there's just a lot of lobbying and politicking,
Really?
and sometimes you come across people who don't have the best motives, and yeah, so I found out that I don't think I'm cut out for that level of work.
Okay.
And, I, and another thing too, is just being at the center of like the spotlight. Like when I was walking around Cal Poly, it felt like everybody's eyes were on me all the time.
Mm.
And so you don't have any anonymity to live your life. And I think that if you do choose public service, I applaud you and respect that, but you do put yourself and your family at risk of exposure and being drugged through the mud, because I was a target from a lot of different groups on campus that didn't really like me.
Interesting. So you said there's a lot of lobbying and you weren't sure you're cut out for it. I mean, what was an example of that? We don't have to get into exact details, but kind of frame it for me on when your realization was, oh, I may not be able to change this, or this isn't the battle that's worth fighting for my whole life.
One of the things that I campaigned on was student fees. I was all about keeping college affordable. And then ASI had been rolling out this project for like 4 or 5 years to double the size of the campus university, the university union. And
I
I
remember
didn't
this really well. Yeah, I was there too.
I didn't see a need for it at the time. I didn't see how is this going to help students actually succeed in school. It was going to double the ASI fee from like $227 per student per quarter to like $450 per student per quarter. So by, adding on an extra $200 fee, how is that going to help students get a better education? How is that going to help make college affordable and accessible so that we can increase the amount of diversity we have at Cal Poly? It didn't really line up with some of the other goals that the university really wanted. And so I think that if you want to keep college education accessible and affordable, you got to keep the
All right,
fees
so I'm
low.
on the same page as you, but what ended up happening? Who was pressuring you? What was kind of the problem there?
Well, basically, the whole organization of ASI had all this pressure to really push and kind of educate for a yes vote when I wasn't comfortable doing that. I was, you're kind of like, you're supposed to be neutral, but they're kind of like
So you're saying
helping.
the administration of the school was pressuring the student government to kind of lobby to the students themselves that, hey, pass this?
I'm not going to go or say yes or no, but
Okay.
yeah, it was tough, and it really conflicted with my values. So
Okay. And
what's
for everyone who doesn't know, I mean, I was at school then too. It didn't pass, right? They didn't get it.
right? It got voted down, and that's really, it was a student win for sure, because when you have fees going up and up and up, and if you looked at the project, there was about 40% of the new construction that was going to go to office administration building and offices. So
Huh.
how did that make any sense?
Yeah, that sounds like the exact problem. If we listen to another podcast of people talking about student loans and student debt, that's the opposite type of debt we were talking about with real estate. That's the debt that is not going to be good leverage for you. You're not going to realize the appreciation on a home. And it's literally taking away the opportunity for people of our generation to get into real estate. So I appreciate you standing up for that. And I'm glad the Cal Poly students voted it down, because I mean, the fees for college just keep going up, even faster than real estate.
Yeah, yeah. So I think we need to have financial common sense in all industries, in all personal decisions as well as public decisions. We need to have some financial common sense in order to really keep things fair and equitable across the board for everyone.
I love it. All right. Any last words, Owen?
Uh, if you guys want to learn more about real estate, you can follow me on YouTube, follow our channel, subscribe, and you can also follow our Facebook page at the Schwaegerle team.
I love it. The Central Coast is not a bad place to be. Thanks, Owen.
Thanks, Matt.